The story starts with a small girl named Nica going with her family on a road trip when she sees a wolf running beside their car. She tells her parents about the wolf and says that they are scary, but her mother tells her that wolves are not scary. In fact, they are made evil in the fairy tales. When her father tries to see the wolf, their car gets hit by a truck and they get into an accident, and we see the same wolf passing by Nica's unconscious body. After a couple of days, Nica is being sent to an orphanage, which is known as grave by the students, as no one is allowed to cry in this orphanage no matter how much pain they feel. They were asked to hide their emotions inside them, as emotions make people weak. A tale of Tearsmith was quite famous among the children in the orphanage. It told of the world where no one could cry. People lived there like empty souls, but far away, deep in the woods, lived Tearsmith that could fashion crystal tears. People used to go to him to make them cry, to make them feel even a shred of emotion. Tearsmith used to pour his tears in people's eyes, making them cry with anger, despair, frustration. The head of orphanage, Margaret, asks Nica to give her mother's necklace that she is wearing, as no personal item is allowed here. Nica tries to refuse, saying that it is the last remembrance of her mother. So Margaret asks one of her favorite students, Rigel, to take the necklace, and he snatches it from Nica, and that was her start of hate towards Rigel. Margaret tells her that there are 3 rules in this orphanage, that is order, respect, and obedience, that every child has to follow. Then she asks Adeline to take Nica to her room, where Adeline tells her that she will be using the bed of a girl that got adopted last week. Then Nica asks her about her adoption, but Adeline tells her that no one is willing to adopt her as she is too pale, so people think that she is sick, and then she asks Nica if they can be friends, on which Nica agrees. Time flies, and now Nica is a teenager, and it is her last day in the grave as a family has come to adopt her, and she is very happy that finally she is leaving this prison. Margaret warns her by saying that it is just a trial period, and if she didn't follow the 3 rules, she will be returned back to the orphanage. Nica. When leaving with her new parents, Anna and Norman hears a tone of piano, making Anna and Norman to stop. They ask Margaret who is playing it, which she answers Rigel. Anna and Norman decide that they will also take Rigel with them, as it is just a trial period, on which Margaret doesn't agree, but Norman convinces her, and Rigel also says that he wants to go with them. Anna was a florist by profession, and Norman worked as a pest control. Anna and Norman had lost their son in an accident from which they want to move on. That's why they came to orphanage. But when they heard Rigel playing the piano, it reminded them of their son who loved playing piano. That's why they were adamant on taking Rigel with them. Nica always dreamt of living with her adopted parents happily, but Rigel was never a part of it. Nica wasn't happy with the arrangements, but still she thought to compromise for her own sake. On reaching home, Nica went to Rigel's room and told him that he should not create any more problems for her, on which Rigel replied that then she has to stay away from him. After Nica leaving his room, Rigel takes his meds and puts a box in the drawer. At dinner, Anna asks them both that how they lived in orphanage, and Nica lies that they were just like brother and sister, on which Rigel put his hand on her thigh, which made Nica uncomfortable, and she excused herself. Rigel then also excuses himself and went after Nica. Nica tells him to stay in his limits, on which Rigel replies that he is a wolf. Every fairy tale has a villain, and in hers, it's him. She wants him to behave, but why? Because her lies will come in front of Anna and Norman that nothing is perfect like what Nica portrays them, making Nica angry. She tells him that she knows he is the Tearsmith, and she will prove it to everyone, and goes from there. At night, Nica has nightmares of the tortures all the children faced in orphanage. She dreams of the day when Rigel was seriously sick and was screaming in pain, and she immediately wakes up. Next day, both of them went to school where every girl's eyes were on Rigel, which made Nica a little bit uncomfortable. There she met a girl named Billy, who was the head of students' affair, and immediately both of them became friends. She starts telling her about other students, which included Lionel as well, who got infatuated with Nica on the first sight, and told his friend that he will have her in his bed by the next week, which was heard by Rigel, and both of them got into a fight. Rigel, being the newcomer, was left with the warning, whereas Lionel was given detention. At night, Anna came to Nica's room and asked her about Rigel, as he has not left his room since he came back from school. Nica tells her that there is nothing to worry about, as he is just tired. After making sure that Anna and Norman has slept, she goes downstairs where she sees Rigel putting an ice cube on his wounds, and she tries to help him, but Rigel tells her to stay away from him as he won't be able to control himself anymore, and goes from there. Next morning, NNA gave some clothes to Nica to put them in Rigel's room where she sees meds on the table, and when she was about to read the name of meds, Rigel comes to his room and asks Nica that what is she doing here. Nica tries to excuse herself when Rigel starts taking steps towards her, making her trap between the door and himself. He seductively asks Nica that when he told her to stay away from him, then what is she doing in his room? Nica replies that she came here because of Anna and immediately leaves his room. In the school, Lionel tries to talk to Nica, who was not interested in talking to him, and just then Rigel passes very closely by Lionel, like giving him a warning. After school, Anna and Norman took Nica and Rigel for shopping, where Anna buys a dress for Nica, and when she wears it, Rigel could not help but stare at her. Feeling his gave, Nica gets uncomfortable and immediately leaves to change, but due to the zip being stuck, she calls Anna for her help, but then she feels a hand opening her zip and sensually moving over her back. She quickly turns around, but there was no one. Just then, Anna brings a belt for the dress, and when she tries to tie it around Nica's waist, Nica starts having a panic attack and remembers all the tortures she has faced in the orphanage, where she was tied with the belt and gets unconscious. Next day, when Nica wakes up, she directly goes to Anna to apologize for yesterday. Anna tells her that it is okay and asks her that if she faced problems in the orphanage, she should tell her. But Nica denies, saying that everything was perfect in orphanage. Then she asks Anna that where did all the roses go, and Anna tells her that today is Rose Day, where students take roses and put them in the lockers of the one they secretly admire. In school, Billy tells Nica that she already left her locker open yesterday, so that someone who could put a rose in it. Mickey, who was friend of Billy, also became friends with Nica, opens her locker, and finds a bunch of roses, which was given by a psychology student who is madly in love with her, and she gives them to Billy, as she is not interested in him. Billy then opens her locker and finds a white rose which was given to her every year, and she doesn't know who her secret admirer was. Nica then opens the locker and finds a black rose inside it, and understands who has given her, as black rose meant someone's tormented possession, the love that is impure. She immediately goes back to the house and asks Rigel if he has given her the rose, but Rigel denies. Just then, Anna calls Nica that a boy has come to meet her, who is none other than Lionel, who has come to take her on a date. After dropping her back to her house, Lionel tries to kiss her, but Nica dodges him and goes inside her house. Later at night, Nica thinks that whatever Rigel does to her, still she cannot bring herself to hate him. In fact, no one can make her heart skip a beat like he does. And just then, Lionel sends her a video of Rigel beating him, and she goes to confront Rigel, but seeing him all wounded, she tries to help him. Rigel gets unconscious, and Nica with great difficulty takes him to his room. Anna calls Nica and tells her that she and Norman are stuck on motorway due to heavy rainfall. Nica then asks her about medicines, as Rigel is having a fever, on which Anna also gets tensed and tells her which medicine she should give him. Nica gives Rigel the medicine, and then she starts sensually touching Rigel's chest, which makes him gain consciousness, and he asks her to stay with him. Rigel then romances with Nica, and here flashbacks are shown that whenever Nica was punished by Margaret, Rigel was there to help her, even when Margaret took her to dungeons to tie her with the belts, because she came to know that Nica was afraid of darkness. Rigel was there to hold her hand, giving her a ray of hope. Nica always thought that it was Adeline. Once Margaret was taking Nica for punishment when Rigel deliberately cut his hand to take Margaret's attention off Nica. Adeline saw all this and came to meet Rigel in hospital when she sees Rigel with Nica's locket. Nica always thought he threw the locket away, but he has kept it safe with him. Adeline tells him to confess his love to Nica, but Rigel tells her that he is already broken and cannot ask Nica to fight his battles, so he is happy in being her shadow. Next morning, Anna and Norman arrive at home, and Anna asks Nica to take some rest, as she would be tired of taking care of Rigel the whole night. Nica and Rigel again started ignoring each other for a few days. For Rigel's birthday, Nica buys a gift, but due to collision with Lionel, the gift broke into pieces. Nica was disheartened, as it was the last piece and was perfect for Rigel. At home, Anna and Norman had invited their son's girlfriend Asia and her parents and Adeline as well for Rigel's birthday, and when they tell everyone that they are going to officially adopt both of them, makes Asia angry, and she shouts at them that how can they replace their son with anyone. After all this chaos, Adeline comes to meet Rigel in private and asks him that why did he come here. Whenever any family tried to adopt him, he always declined. But now, is it because of Nica and seeing him all quiet? Adeline understands and asks him to reveal the truth of dungeons to Nica, as it was him, not her, and go from there. At night, when Rigel was playing piano, Nica comes and sits with him and tells him to ask anything from her, as she hasn't brought him a birthday gift, on which Rigel tells her to not move and licks the birthday cake from her lips. Just then, they hear the doorbell go off, and Nica goes to check outside, where Lionel was standing, and tells her that he loves her so much, and whatever she feels for Rigel is wrong, as they will become brother and sister tomorrow. But Nica tells him to go away and goes inside Rigel's room, where he was sitting crying. Nica tells him that he calls himself the Wolf, but her mother once told her that wolves are not always bad. In fact, they are made evil in fairy tales. On hearing her, Rigel hugs her, romances with her, but something clicks in his mind, and he tells her to go away from him. Next day, Billy comes to take Nica to her house to get ready for the prom, on which Anna agrees. After they're leaving, Anna goes to Rigel's room, who is packing his luggage, and tells Anna to not adopt him, and gives her that box. On the other hand, Billy happily gets ready and tells Mickey and Nica about Lionel friend Phelps, who has accepted that he always left White Rose in her locker, making Nica and Mickey quiet. As one day, during the group study, Billy fell asleep, and Nica excused herself to got the rest room. But when she came back, she saw Mickey kissing the sleeping Billy and questioned her about this, on which Mickey replied that she's a lesbian and has always loved Billy. In present, Mickey finally reveals the truth to Billy, that she was the one was leaving roses in her locker since the day they met, which anger Billy so much that she shouts at her and goes from there. At party, Nica tries to handle Billy, who is drunk due to the betrayal of her best friend, and doesn't listen to her. Lionel comes to Nica and asks her for a dance. Nica feels dizzy and asks Lionel to take her somewhere quiet, where Lionel takes her to an empty classroom and kisses her. Nica tries to push him away, but he doesn't budge and tries to force himself on her. Rigel also comes to the party to say goodbye to Nica for the last time and asks Billy about her. Billy tells her she has seeing them going in a corridor, where Rigel hears Nica shouting for help and helps her. He tries to choke Lionel to death, but Nica stops him, and Lionel runs from there. Nica then tells Rigel that how much she loves him, and she wants to live with him, and it doesn't matter where, and both of them finally kiss. Both of them were walking happily on the bridge, when Lionel comes there in his car to hit Rigel, and then both of them jump into the river. Nica dreams of her nights spent in the dungeons, and for the first time she sees the face of the person who held her hand there. She wakes up in the hospital and asks about Rigel. Anna tells her that Rigel has canceled his adoption, on which Adeline replies that now he is in custody of Margaret. Anna gives her that box that contains her mother's necklace, making Nica emotional. She asks them to take her to Rigel. Just then Doctor comes there and tells her about Rigel's condition, that he has broken a few bones due to jumping from the bridge, and also about the neuromas in his brain for which he was taking medication for. Hearing his condition, Nica cries and asks them to take her to him, but Margaret doesn't let her meet him. Adeline tells Nica that Peter, a child from orphanage, has pressed charges against Margaret, and he also needs her testimony, as she was tortured the most by Margaret, on which Nica agrees. Asia, the girlfriend of Anna and Norman's son, comes to meet Nica in hospital and apologizes for her behavior the other day. Nica tells her that she can understand her pain of losing someone they love, and looks at Rigel, on which Asia hugs her and wishes her best of luck for the case. Peter, who pressed charges against Margaret, gives his testimony that he lied, and Margaret was nothing but kind to them in the orphanage, which shocks everyone. Then Nica was asked to testify, and Margaret's lawyer began to question her about Rigel and her relationship, taking the trial away from the original topic. Nica started crying and ran to the washroom, but when she saw her younger reflection holding her mother's necklace, she became determined and told the truth in the court, which made them win the case. She then immediately ran back to Rigel and held his hand, telling him to wake up, as now she will never leave him, which makes Rigel to gain his consciousness back. Rigel once told Nica that she is his Tearsmith, as she was the one who made him feel emotions he always thought he didn't have. He will always protect her, even if it costs him his life. But now Nica, who also can't live without him, has promised to be with his side always. In the last scenes of the movie, we see Rigel and Nica living happily with their adopted daughter. Thank you for watching.